you all, I thought it might be interesting to ask, what are your current top climate issues? If you have sort of one or two things maybe that is currently on your mind as, this is right now super important or a cool, really great opportunity. I just wanted to open that up and see what was on your minds.
So I'll name two.
Okay.
One is the rapid growth of renewable energy. The cost of wind and solar have plummeted, and that is really creating tremendous opportunities for growth in that area and tremendous career opportunities in the decades to come. Mm-hmm. And the other is a carbon tax. I think that it's possible that if the White House and the Senate flip in the next election, that a carbon tax could be adopted, and if it's high enough and loophole-free enough, both of which are real questions, it could make a big difference, certainly in terms of fossil fuel emissions, but also in terms of non-fossil emissions, depending on its coverage.
That's a tough question for me because I think the area that I specialize in isn't the largest slice of the pie. Right. But the things that I spend the most hours a day thinking about aren't necessarily the most impactful individual measures. But like I said, since it's a matter of like all the sufficient conditions, something that I have been thinking a lot about lately is this divide between individual choices and institutional action or institutional change. And I think that there's a lot of potential that isn't being discussed for large providers, sellers of food to change their purchasing patterns and to change their service to make the, in a developed, economically better off context such as ours, to make the more sustainable and healthier options tastier, more default, and psychologically easy to get on board with. For instance, like changing their place in the menu, changing how things are described, all of these so-called nudging behaviors, to really start moving the large purchasers and sellers of food towards changing what the default purchasing habit or choice is in the first place.
Makes sense. Making the market work maybe in a certain way for environmental purposes. And did you have?
Yeah, so I have two. And again, not the biggest slice of the pie in terms of climate mitigation is fossil fuels, by far the biggest slice of the pie. But I'll say one of, I think, really good opportunities right now is there's a big focus on land restoration. This is the decade of land restoration, and there's the bond challenge, which has a goal of restoring, I forget how many millions of hectares of land, and there's a opportunity now, I think, to try to get that right, to bring some restoration to land around the world, which is not being used as productively as it can be, either in terms of sequestering carbon or providing products that people could use. So that's a real opportunity. That's one. Another is flip around to the climate adaptation side, and that we know we're facing, it's inevitable, we're facing some climate change. So how to think about making our food systems more climate resilient by being more diverse, by growing different crops, by growing crops in places that's suitable for the climate. I think there's just a lot of potential.